like slump your shoulders and let your belly be as round as possible.
He already looks like he's from Texas.
Okay, so I want your belly to be as free as possible, as relaxed as possible, and your shoulders to be as relaxed as possible. Really let those go, and tuck your chin in like this. And now say the line again, but in your own accent as well. But don't move anything. But be relaxed in this position, but keep your chin in. So what we've done, we've simplified what you're doing. All right. So that's a good start.
Greetings, everyone. Come on in and have a seat up front for the Funny Muscle Podcast. If you're here, then you're looking to learn how to create laughs like a pro. So please help me welcome to the stage your co-host to help you do that, economics professor and open micer Chris Stifler and comedian turned author Mike Lucas.
Darren McStay. I see his name. There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Hold on. We're going
Hi.
full ball here. I gotta go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
How you doing, Darren?
Oh, it's been quite a day. It's been quite a day.
Oh, that's
I've
right. You're
had
at the end of your day, huh?
It's 6 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in Finland. So add 2 hours to that. No, it's actually 6 o'clock in Finland. So it's 4 o'clock in London.
Welcome to the Funny Muscle Podcast, Darren.
All right. Thanks for having me.
You here. The reason why we were interested in your being on our show is we caught, I guess it might be 5 years ago, you posted a video about how to create 100 distinctly different voices. And when we did an episode where our target market is new comedians who are trying to sort of break into the business. And so one of the techniques that we teach is to use voices to do act outs in your stand-up comedy. And so we used your video as sort of a reference base to see how you can do voices where you're not imitating somebody specifically, but you're doing different voices that like for characters. And so your video was fantastic to us because it sort of gave us a methodology for doing that. So that's why we wanted to have you come on and talk to us a little bit about that.
Cool.
When we start out developing a character or a bunch of characters, it can be difficult sometimes to really separate them apart from each other, and we can get lost without a checklist to kind of make sure that they are very different from each other and they stand out and it doesn't all sound like you. So this list is the first port of call I'd go to make sure that they're distinctly different. Now there's 8 of these efforts, so automatically by following each one, you've got the possibility of doing 8 different voices. So let's talk about what they are. You could think of these as physical traits, you could think of these as emotional traits. However they inspire you and however accurately you are able to make them will give you distinct differences already. So if we consider different elements of the voice to be light or strong, then this is the weight of the voice. And if we think of it as being direct or indirect, this is the spatial quality. And lastly, if we think of it as being sudden or sustained, then this is the timing. By taking the 2 different weights, the 2 different timings, and the 2 different spatial qualities, we have 6 things to think about, and combining one with the other in different variation gives us 8 different outcomes.
So what's the give us a breakdown for those that haven't heard or seen your video. What's the breakdown of your system, and how does it work in terms of creating all these different voices?
Well, I don't necessarily have a strict system. What I've done, I think where I've had success myself and with helping others is that I've trained through so many different systems that I'm able to sort of pick and choose from them all. I did a master's degree in acting in 2009, and I was introduced to Laban. Now, Laban is something I go through in that video. Laban was a dance practitioner who developed a system to explain to dancers what he wanted them to do. And through the years, it's the same process can be used for considering how to use your voice. So it's a really good way of offering efforts, the effort that you put in. So like in a set, I'll break it down very, very simply for you because I haven't got the whole terminology off the top of my head. But for example, if something's fast or slow, or if something's, like you said before, high-pitched or low-pitched, if something is strained or flows easy. So in that respect, once you have, say, the 7 different variables, and if you change each part of those, you get a whole different amount of voices you're able to do. And that's without putting in another accent as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Like I kind of do that organically,
Yeah.
like, but when I watched you, you gave me a lot of other options that I hadn't considered for those variables. So like I had maybe 3 or 4 in my tool belt, and then you gave me another 3 or 4 that I could use and depend on and go, oh, I didn't think to slow this down, but then go high pitched with it. So it's someone who's starting to sound like that, And I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's creepy,
okay,
isn't
yeah,
it?
that gives me a whole other option that I didn't think. So I like that your system, and I know you don't want to call it a system necessarily, but to me, I'm a very linear guy, and when I call something a system, it's a compliment because it gives me a way to a methodology in
Yeah,
order
yeah.
to sort of base off of.
Yeah, well, I guess I put that video together out of what I've learned, and I don't, I might not use the terminology system. Tools.
Yeah.
They're just tools. You take what you need and you leave what you don't. Use what works and forget the rest.
And so you're an actor, I understand. And so are you using this are you a character actor? Is that where these voices help you?
Well, interestingly, I went to a school in London which is famous for its. I'm not going to say method acting because it's not quite that, but famously we do a 3-week improvisation where we're in character for that long. And we don't have to learn lines. We just have to be very true to our characteristics, and usually when we do that exercise, we're playing characteristics that are different to ourselves. So if I'm quite confident, forthright, and I don't know, loud, my characteristics there might be quiet, subdued, humble. And
For 3 weeks?
What for 3 weeks, yeah. And so you take some time to get into it, and then once you're in it, you're there. Wow. And you just play those characteristics, and you're fed information about what's going on with other people, or if someone's done something, and you respond. Well, actually, at that point, you respond very honestly, and that's kind of the idea behind method acting, isn't it? Is that you're not acting, you're being in the moment. Acting is essentially action; it's doing something.
Right.
So,
and
yeah.
Listening and reacting is the sort of the foundation of improv as well, which is what I study and perform in. And building a scene based on listening to what someone says, and then what they call in improv is yes-anding, where you're heightening what the idea you're agreeing with, and then heightening the idea that you just heard. And I love that, and that's the same kind of sort of process.
Yes, and that's also something we do with acting. It's not just for comedy, but improv is really useful for all sorts of things. Also, feeling free. Improv is you can set up, for example, if it was using your voice or comedy, I imagine you have your material, but you want to be able to feel free with that material, I guess, right? So you don't have to be thinking about your voice or thinking about your delivery or trying to remember the lines, and so. Sometimes boundaries give you freedom. So as long as you're within this box here, you can bounce around it and stay inside, and it doesn't go too far off the beaten track. Actually, I've never done stand-up myself. I'm
really?
very interested in it, though. No, I worked as a compere, though, years ago.
As a what now?
As a compere. So
what's a compere?
Compere is the person that introduces acts.
Oh, we call that like an MC or an opener. Okay, but you call it a compere.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
compere,
nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
French,
so
right?
I figured maybe some of our listeners didn't either, or maybe I'm just the only idiot.
Maybe I said it wrong. But I think that in the UK at least they call it a compere, and that's the person who introduced.
Gotcha.
I used to introduce bands and acts and magicians and comedians. So you pick up a bit of patter just from doing that, and not that I didn't tell jokes, but somehow you can, within a time frame of like, I've only got 1 minute to introduce the next people. And when you let go of caring too much about the details, you're much freer with how you're able to present yourself and like connect with your audience. And I guess that's quite key, isn't it?
It sure is. And those are those moments where you organically throw in some callbacks where something that happened earlier in the evening You can,
Mm.
like, later, two or three acts later, you can call it back and relate it to the new one, and then you look like a genius because you're basically paying attention.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's a good thing about improv, right? It gets your brain working in that way.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing about stand up too, is the way I do it, at least, and the way Chris does it. We allow ourselves in the moment to react to the moment. And so you
Yeah.
have a script, obviously, which you stick to, but then also, as things develop in front of a live audience, you allow for yourself to be free enough to yes and that moment.
Well, I
So
played on stage in bands, so it kind of works the same way, right?
so are
Whether or
you
not
a musician or a singer or both?
I started off as a singer, a singer-songwriter. I think I've been doing that longer than anything else. This it seemed like a logical progression into acting because I was working in catering actually in between not playing gigs. So that was my yeah, that's where my heart was since the age of like 13, 14. When I got into that age and that music, I got into a band and I got into other bands. And I grew up around music. Next to London
Right.
is a vibrant community of clubs and like a network of places to play and things to see. So that was that
What
was
kind of
definitely
singer, like
me.
what kind of music were you singing?
At the time, I think I started really more indie rock and punk and did some metal stuff. But then later,
Nice.
I actually actually there's a band that doesn't play anymore and probably was not really allowed to play anymore in this day and age. And the band was called Leonard and Bubba's Delicious Goo Goo Cluster, and and we were a comedy bluegrass redneck band.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm not sure who's quite listening to this, but we had one song called Sister Fister. That's just to give you an idea of the tone.
Sister Fister. Oh, Jesus.
Um, yeah.
Oh, I hope the Google clusters are listening right now. That's we
Well, you never know. There might be a couple out there. I'll share this with them. But yeah,
that's
that's
great.
that's yeah. On our last gig, I sort of got taken aside by someone in the audience saying, "Why did you talk about that topic?" I'm like, "Well, look, it's just a band. It's just comedy. We just,
Right.
it's for entertainment. It's for fun, and we're not taking that seriously. What we're saying is that's wrong, and we're putting it in a framing it in a comedic light to make light of it, so we can enjoy ourselves." And they asked me the same question again.
Yeah.
And I
Would
said,
you
"Oh no!" And then my heart sank. It's like I'm going to get nowhere with this person.
right, yeah.
But
Well,
that was
yeah,
it was the
yeah.
beginning of the end, unfortunately, of that music because we started getting more people like that show up.
Man. Well,
Um,
and nowadays it's even more so, like, with the woke community happening, comedians are facing that all the time where,
yeah,
it's really frowned down to punch down on people. It's frowned upon to sort of take any sort of downward punch. It's either sideways or upwards, or someone's going to be complaining. But so you're a
mm.
comedian, in a sense. Does your acting reflect any comedy?
It's funny because I either get I either get to play two parts. One is either authoritative figure, psychopath, police officer, army, um, or the it's sort of like an unfortunate person. So sometimes both at the same time, and I've done a few comedies here actually on the TV series in Finland, and they've been comedy series where I've had a fairly serious role in the comedy series. So I guess I fall into that bracket just naturally.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's my delivery or the way I am. I don't know. So with regard to your listeners and people out there who like beginner comedians or comedians getting out there, you were concerned, like you were thinking about asking me to do with like how they can do more with their voice or how they
Yeah, let
can
me
feel
let me let me
freer.
let me rewind the conversation from where I approached, because Mike's the pro and I'm the open micer, and I approached him and I said I have a bit about a foolhardy Texan, so I need a big foolhardy, fat, kind of overconfident Texan cowboy hat wearing, and he's interacting with a very vegan Colorado wussy type character. And my brain, my character, I just go right to the accents. I don't have the dichotomy you have where you're doing a gliding or a floating or staccato or direct or indirect or sustained.
Mm,
Like or sudden.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
Floating.
your video
Yeah.
gave me so like the vocabulary to
Right.
understand that voice character actors are not just an accent. It's so much
Mm,
more. Uh, there's more characteristics to really commit to those traits.
mm,
And so
yeah.
maybe what if we just start and you tell me, how do I make a Texan, like a overconfident, fat, bloviating Texan character?
Well, for starters, you're closer to Texas than I am, so you've probably got a better idea of it. I think as an accent, Texas is a big place, right? It's a state, isn't it? So you're going to get a variety of accents all the way through there. And I don't know what the immigration is like in Texas, but there's going to be influences as well over the last 100 years that are going to change different areas, different cities, different parts of it. So Austin might be very different to Houston, for example. There might be the one part might sound very redneck and the other might sound very, I don't know, sound more East Coast, for example, because they have some influences. People have moved from different places. So already we're in trouble. But what you want is the stereotype, right?
Correct.
I guess. So everyone gets it. Everyone gets that thing. If I were to do that, if I were to pick that apart, first I'd have to find a lot of source material. So I'd find, say, at least 3 good examples of those accents. It doesn't have to have that sort of bolshy bigness to it, like you suggested. As long as you can hear the similarities in there. So then when you make the change to your voice, you can say, well, that's correct, because all 3 different voices did it the same. I'd also, before you go ahead and sort of use that system, if you like, would be to actually see how far you can get by sheer parroting it. There's a lot to be said for that, but you can't hold back. And this is why it's good to do on your own with a recorder. Maybe it's with a camera or just a mobile device. But I always find it's useful. You'd be surprised how much your instincts can get from listening to the source material and not trying to break it down, because somehow when it becomes analytical, it gets out of your body into your head. So if you can do like 90% of this job just by throwing it out there and having a go. How you doing out there, boys? This is good.
Nice.
I mean, I don't know if that's Texas, but it's certainly down south somewhere. From Pikesfoot, Louisiana. And I think you can just, sorry for screaming. Yeah, that's a good start. Because if you can get, like, if you're holding your belly and if you're getting tight or tense or worried that you're not quite getting it right, you're never going to get it right. So you better just go further than you can, go way past the thing is, even if you did that on stage, if you gave it 100%, no one cares. They get it because of your commitment to it. And it's when you start picking it apart too early that you're going to get stuck in trying to be perfect. Therefore, everyone's not going to buy it. Somehow the audience will feel like, oh, I tried. If you give it all, they won't care what accent it is. They'll just, you say, I'm a Texan, and no matter what you do, they'll believe that voice is the Texan. That's what a Texas voice sounds like, because you committed. So there's a bit of that to it. And I would certainly give that advice to someone who's going to be like on stage in front of an audience like that, because it's not the same as voiceover work or doing something on a film that's going to be remembered forever. This is a one-off, right? Every show is
right.
A one-off, and you can get better each time you do it. But it is throwing yourself into it.
I love that idea of finding source material. I haven't really thought about that, but why not get what you have in mind and then start to emulate that even before you start to use your techniques where you're shifting voice and speeds and stuff like that.
Yeah, what you could do is get those 3 and then see what they're doing with the efforts. For example, hang about, this accent is very staccato, so that's maybe dabbing. It has a bit of a thing that seems to poke, and okay, that's not Texan, that's more mine. But if you can listen to those 3 accents and see what the similarities are, break those down, you've got a starting point, and then you can just practice one at a time. Get really good at the one effort. Once you've nailed that, work on the next effort. Then do that. And once you've gone through everything, like the list that's there on my website, I haven't got it in my head at the moment. Then forget it all and go back to what I said at the beginning.
Just sell it. Yeah. And that's like 95% of it is for real in the stand-up world, at least. And in the acting world, especially like you said, for a movie that's going to be forever, you're going to want to nail, like, I'm from Austin and I have a slightly Hispanic influence, but I'm also from Ohio, so I have a couple of words that are in there, and then you want to have those subtleties in there. But for comedic purposes, I think you're right. I think it's best to sort of, the recognizable one is the one to go with.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But also you got air placement, and I guess I'm not sure how that differs from where you are to what you want to go for. You from Texas as well?
I live in Texas right
Stifler.
now in Dallas, but I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, okay, and Stifler.
I live in Denver, Colorado, but I grew up on the East Coast, so Pennsylvania area.
Okay, right. So yeah, in that case, then this Bolshie Texan would be a little further away.
Well, so give us an example. So you do your Texan, but do your Texan with an indirect and a
Well,
light.
I don't have a Texan in my armory. And like, for example, I can do a Glaswegian. It's very different, you know.
Oh,
For example, it's different to Edinburgh, and I've got a French come from my French like that. So it's difficult to just jump in. Get
Yeah,
my
it's
water.
what it's funny. I was doing a joke about my sweaters being excited about the fact that it's fall and it's sort of their
Yeah,
time of the year. And so I said I had a Scottish cashmere sweater that was excited, and I immediately tried to jump into a Scottish brogue. And I got to tell you, Darren, you would have been embarrassed for me. I even called myself out, just trying to jump into it cold. I'm not what's his name? Michael from Saturday Night Live, the Wayne's World guy,
Mike
Myers.
Myers.
Michael Myers, who
Mike
can
Myers.
just kind of pop into those things without even thinking about it. So I kind of made fun of myself for, my Scottish accent. It's like, oh my God, I sound
Scottish. Yeah, no, there
Scottish.
was the thing is, it's like I said, if you're going to do this live stand up, you're going to practice it first, right?
For sure.
And when I made that video, it was a few years ago now, I'd gone through everything and I'd had a sheet of paper telling me which one to do next for each one I was doing. So I kind of, that helped in that scenario, but I don't necessarily carry them around with me all the time.
No, yeah, how could
Um,
you? Yeah, that would be
um,
crazy.
yeah,
You'd be a kind of
it
psycho a
would
little
be
bit.
crazy. Yeah,
Talking to everybody like this if you have.
I did a series of videos on the channel where I was reviewing voices. And again, I got complaints that my voice didn't sound like theirs. But my point was, I'm not impersonating those voices. I'm just giving you the tools. It's like Mike Tyson was taught by Gus or whatever his name is, but you wouldn't consider him a big fighter and put him in the ring with Mike Tyson. But he gave him the tools to him to be the biggest fighter.
Exactly.
And essentially, as a coach, that's really my primary goal, is to help others find it. And I've got the tools myself, and I know how to use them when I need to use them.
Right. Yeah, of course. And it's funny how that's one of the things I teach my clients as well, is when you are doing a voice, don't think that because you can't imitate Charles Barkley or you can't do Beyonce that you shouldn't be able to do voices, because it might be fun just to do a higher pitched voice because you're trying to imitate your mother, or you might be
Yeah.
doing the neighbor who's complaining about your leaf blower. So you'd want to do her voice, and it doesn't have to sound like anyone in particular, but it just has to sound a little bit different than what you normally do. And then, like you said, if you commit to it, boom, you're off and running.
I feel like I'm letting you down though. I feel like I need to find something. But yeah, again, Texan isn't really one I've necessarily covered on its own.
Oh no,
but
you're not letting us down. It's funny in the improv world. What we call that is a pimp. We've pimped you. We've pimped you to. It's like when you walk into a scene and someone goes, "Well, if it isn't Elvis Presley, favor us with a song, Elvis," and then they're like, "Oh, really? You're gonna make me do Elvis?"
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's the rules of the game, right? You've got to be ready for that.
You gotta be. But if someone does that to you,
the,
you're kind of like, "Come on, man."
Oh, it's like
One for the money, a two for the show,
Yeah.
a three to get a running. I'll go ahead, go. That's my best Elvis. Sorry.
It's like someone drags you into a karaoke bar when you're drunk without realizing.
Yeah, after about 16
Yeah.
beers.
Oh, looks like you're singing Bohemian Rhapsody. What?
Oh,
That's what that was?
That's a tough one.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's got like 16 octaves in it for Freddie Mercury's voice.
so it sounds like Darren. So if you're trying to develop a different voice for your bit, you said like find 3 examples on YouTube and just listen to them and then try to emulate them for a bit.
Yeah, not only YouTube, I wouldn't, and I'd probably go to someone who's from like 3 people from Texas rather than 3 people doing Texas accents, because
Mm.
it's like you're going to get secondhand information already. There is a site called the Dialect Archive, I think it's called, and there is essentially like it's a library
Huh.
of different accents from all around the globe that's been collected over the last 50 years. And so you could say Texas or maybe Houston, for example, and you'd probably find a variety of different accents there. And they'll go through the same text each time. Maybe I'll give you a link after this. I'll find it and
Okay.
send it over, and you can put it on there
Yeah.
because it's quite useful. The recordings aren't always so good, but then again, if you know somebody's like an actor, famous actors from Texas, or 3 famous actors, or a show is based in Texas, that's probably a good idea to check that out. But the good idea with the accents libraries is that they're saying the same script, and so you can practice that same script. And those scripts usually go through all the phonemes in our language, so you can break it down like that, and that's very helpful.
So Stifler, why don't you let Darren coach you into
Oh,
you doing the Texas accent? Because that way we can hear the difference between what you do and how you can shift it.
Again, I don't have the tools here to know exactly what a Texas accent is.
yeah, but
However, if you
Howdy.
wow.
let's see where you are now. So can you say, let's have a look. Ken Dodd's dad's dog's dead.
What do
Now,
you?
just as you're in your accent, start with your accent. It's
Oh,
much
okay.
better that way.
Can dogs die dead?
Ken Dodd's dad's dog's dead.
Ken's dog's dad's dog's dead. I don't know what I'm saying. Ken's dog.
Yeah. It was the name of a band from years ago. Okay.
Dogs, dad's dogs.
Let's do something. Let's just lift your hat up a bit so it sits on top of your head, not completely down like that. Yeah, and maybe just twist it to the side a little bit. That's better. You already look like you've come out of a truck. Um, the hoodie,
That's great.
not quite buying it. Okay, now let's look at your posture because you're leaning in right now. All right.
Okay.
Is there any way you can like slump your shoulders and let your belly be as round as possible?
He already looks like he's from Texas.
Okay, so I want your belly to be as free as possible, as relaxed as possible, and your shoulders to be as relaxed as possible. Really let those go, and tuck your chin in like this. And now say the line again, but in your own accent as well. But don't move anything. But be relaxed in this position, but keep your chin in.
Ken dog's dad's dog's dead.
Okay, so what we've done, we've simplified what you're doing. All right, so that's a good start. Now you said howdy, was it? Howdy.
Yeah, like the Texas accent is everything has a little bit of a syrup on it. It's kind of
Like it.
slow
Okay.
and well, we're gonna go out to the car and we're gonna probably get some syrup and put it on our pancakes.
Go down to the car. Okay, I'm thinking.
Yeah, there you go.
Do less for you, jaw. Don't move the bottom jaw at all.
Yeah.
Let all the work happen on your tongue. So don't move your bottom jaw. And say the line again.
Ken's dog's dad's dog's dead.
You're moving your jaw too much. Complete it. Ken dog's dead.
Ken's dog's dad's dog's dead.
Ken's dog's dad's dog's dead.
Yeah, you're still doing that. Try and hold still like so. Like you're throwing like a ventriloquist.
Ken's dog's dad's dog's dead.
That's great. You're really sounding.
Now, if I was to say I'm gonna get like a balloon, like pump you up, I want you to blow up really big, and then and do it again.
Blown up.
Yeah.
Ken's dog's dad's dog's dead.
Now release the air, and release the air. I think what we want to do is have that whole feeling in your body, the relaxation in your jaw and your belly, relaxed, the hat on top of your head. And then I think it's hand out, because if it's not coming out of your mouth so much, it's going to come out more of your nose. So can you go up there more?
Yeah.
Up there, how important? You see what I'm doing? Up there. So try and make the noise hit your bridge of your in between your eyes. Try and make the sound of your voice hit there. Feel that.
Ken's dog's dad's dog's dead. Yeah, sneeze. Okay.
Yeah. Can you make it? Can you now make it? Make him a fatter person? Can you say fatter this day and age? I don't know. A more rotund
larger
individual. Yeah. Without holding yourself, just consider it. Just imagine. That's it. It's just imagine.
Ken's dog's dad's dog's dead.
I mean, now
That's
go back to you again.
Ken's dog's dad's dog's dead.
Right. So it does sound different.
Yeah.
And what happened there is that I think at first you were sort of putting a lot of movement into it. And when you took that away, you started focusing a little bit more. And then you had a little bit of a physical characteristic, which helps you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
And then that relaxation helps you concentrate on where you're putting the air. And there's not too big a difference. But if you change that air placement, so you at the moment you're kind of well balanced, but it was more into your nose. That sounded to me closer to what I think the howdy was at the beginning.
Yep.
And so look, now that's certainly if you commit to that, it slowed down as well. Did you notice that?
Yeah, his
really
regular voice came out
down.
faster.
Yeah. So that there you go. You did it naturally. I didn't really tell you that much, but that was enough for you to get it. And that's enough for you to say, right, if I commit to this, you can work on the accent in your own time. You can perfect that, by doing, following the list of things you can do. But then if you start from that place, feel the physicality, do what you did, relax your belly, your shoulders, bring your jaw in like that. Even do that to your hat. Like you're physically putting on a mask in a sense, so you can become someone else. If you did that on stage and then that slowing down of it, they know it's a different person. And if you say this is my Texan, they're going to buy it. I totally.
100%. If Chris, if you popped into that voice off of your voice, and you had something funny to say with that voice, so even though Ken's dog's dad's dog's dead is kind of funny in itself, but if you had it with he does a bit that is about all cat and no cattle.
All hat, no cattle. So
all hat, no cattle.
Have you got another character? Maybe we can try to juxtapose it.
Yeah, who's the other guy you were saying that is
just a very like a feet kind of vegan. The idea is you're all hat no cattle is a compliment to the Denver vegan, and so they're
okay. Let's make another stereotype. Then I know a few vegans. I used to be one myself before I be. So, okay, let's take the hat off. Okay, now let's just say that you're much taller than the Texan.
Okay.
So before we pull this in like this and we relax the belly, but maybe if you pull your shoulders back, and then you can jut your head forward like that. Just put your chin forward. Shouldn't eat meat. No.
Shouldn't eat meat.
Yeah, do you know what you did there? Okay, so you smiled. You know people who smile through their teeth? Like you're smiling because you think you should, not because you're happy.
Okay.
What? Okay, and so yeah, and we're trying to make it different to the other voice, right? So hold your belly really tight, and if when you speak, you can put your lips really pursed, really quite tight.
Shouldn't eat meat.
Quite tight. Yeah, and try and aim for your teeth when you're speaking.
Shouldn't eat meat.
Okay, now you can say Ken dog's dad's dog's dead.
Ken dog's dad's dog's dead. I don't know why I'm going British there, but okay.
No, yeah, maybe vegans should be British. I don't know.
That's funny.
But it sounds like you're really tying your body, your chin movement, your pursed lips. You're thinking about where you're talking from. That's really helping me out. Talk from my nose, talk from my teeth.
Only at first. At first. This is I really start physically. I work better physically. The whole idea of thinking about something and then doing it, I find harder than doing it and then understanding what I did. That's how I learn best, is by doing and then understanding what I did, rather than because I get too caught in my head otherwise, and I'm trying to get it right and my body's not reacting. So if you can feel that, you can over time relax with it more. and you can still dip into it, then your mind's freer to think of the content. But if you now go from what by holding it physically, you will never forget that. I assure you, after this video, you're going to go back to those two and know exactly how to make them. Because you can't forget it. You've put it in your body. It's a really useful way to remember things.
It's like muscle memory or whatever for your body, but it's linked to your voice.
Yeah.
And you could have a conversation between those two characters and then differentiate between them simply by adjusting your body in those two different ways. And as a stand-up comic, just by shifting your attention left and right, all of a sudden there's two more people on stage, the Texan and the vegan talking to each other, and that's very effective.
Well, I got you to take your hat off for that one as well, but you could turn it around to the side. It was more just creating that physical change.
As a system, though, so you're thinking like for beginners, tie a physical trait to the character you're doing. It's going to help you kind of commit to the persona.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If you can. I mean, try and do the same thing standing on your tiptoes. Try and do the same thing laying on the floor. You're going to get different results. Right. And if the idea is for you to experiment and to play with something different, and then because it's going to help you find something different. If you just think it's only going to be marginal what you change. But if you create a whole different change in your body, you're automatically like adjusting your perception on the world, and therefore you're better able to play a part, character, change your voice. In my opinion,
this is great.
Cool. Yeah, I do a lot of voices in my act, but I didn't really focus on the idea of the physicality. I think I do it naturally, but the idea of when I'm writing, when I'm sitting down at my desk and I'm trying to create different scenarios to practice and to deliver on stage, it might be nice to begin to start focusing on the physicality too, and to go, oh, well, what if this guy has a hunchback, or what if this guy, what if he has his fingers together all the time, and what does that do,
what if he can't pull his fingers apart?
Yeah, right.
What if they're literally stuck together? But there's and actually physicality, like Laban fits in very well physically, but there's another consideration that you could have about, like, I know we started talking about the voice, but they do feed into each other, voice and movement. But you can imagine, how the medical doctors break up the body on planes. So you've got the top, bottom, left, back, front. I can't remember the technical terms for them. But yeah, the medial plane and the lateral plane. So you can cut your body in half this way, and cut your body in half this way, and then have a sort of table through to separate the top and bottom. Now, you could just use that as an idea of what you do with your hands, right? Are you someone who's above the table or below the table? Where are your hands? Down here or up here? Right. Or are you one-sided? Do you just use one hand, or do you gesticulate with both? Do you keep your hands behind your back and behind or in front of this plane? So just those things with your arms and your hands can tell a big story, because say you're a smoker and you only do things with one hand, but your hand's under the table. It changes the way you move, and that will help affect your voice.
It's great,
because you'll get inspiration from your own movement and your own physicality as to what the voice should be. The accent is just the icing on the cake, and that's the stuff we do the research for.
But it's funny because to me the accent was everything, and the idea of, like, even just now bending over and pulling on your cigarette in a secretive way. Like there was a scene going on there. Like I could see that there was something happening. Well, why are you hiding that? Who are you hiding from? Why are you the kind of man that needs to hide what he's doing from somebody else? And I want to know the answers to these questions. And just from that one simple movement, and, the physicality of it, it's pretty fantastic.
But it comes from studying people as well. They like, you can break it down with these tools, but when you watch and listen and really take the time to stalk other people
and cut them in half in planes.
You should see my cellar. I think I don't have a cellar. Well, I do, but it's a bomb shelter because we live next to Russia. So there's the idea. I've lost my train of thought now. I'm trying to be funny. This is why I'm not a stand-up comedian. for example, you're sitting at a coffee shop, you can overhear conversations. It's fascinating to actually put your headphones in, but turn the music off and actually listen, and then see people's body language change according to how they're feeling. And then you just see different people walking past, and I wonder what their life is like. And you can see people sometimes slow, dragging their feet, heavy, and you can imagine what their voice would be. I love doing that.
Yeah,
I absolutely love doing that. We had an exercise at acting school for voiceover work, actually, and it was the same woman that introduced me to carbon. And she said, bring in an object, and so we brought in I had a glove. I haven't got anything really here. It was a black leather glove, and this is not a glove, but and she's like, you're going to give it a voice. But this leather glove was like a racing glove, and it had like a little silver button on it. And somehow what we had to do was just put the glove there on the table, go around the back of a board so they couldn't see us, and we just had to talk as the glove or as that object. Right. Someone else had the bottle, someone had the ball. And it was really interesting because you don't have to be correct. You don't have to get it right, because what you do is is what it is. We just accept it. So there is that as well. You can take a lot of pressure off yourself by just knowing, like, no one's judging you, or you're providing something. They're going to take you at your word again if you commit 100%. But
yeah, we call that anthropomorphizing in my book, and it's giving something a voice that doesn't typically have a voice. And when you're making, when I'm making my cup talk, or my hat say something because it's tired of being on my head, that voice, it doesn't matter what that voice sounds like, because if I give my hat, if my hat is just like kind of gruff and it doesn't like to be on my head because I'm allergic to dandruff and this guy is itchy and flaky, it doesn't matter. That like we just like the fact that this hat has a voice now, and now when I come back to the hat, oh, I'm going on the head, here I go, and we laugh because we get,
oh God, you're so sweaty. Oh.
Yeah, why? That's funny. Now I want to do the gruff hat bit.
Keep doing it. Yeah, I want to say, but do like the nasally thing, like you're allergic to that. No, add that like component or trait to your same act out.
This hat is definitely I'm whenever I get on his head, I end up getting allergic to the shampoo he uses, which is shocking because he's bald, and you wouldn't think that he was using a shampoo, but he must use something because sorry about that, excuse me.
I half expected you to actually use that to wipe your nose with.
Oh my God, please don't do that to me. This is gross. Okay, back in the laundry basket with me.
Now, is your brain focusing on your nose? Like, that was really helpful when Darren told me to speak through my nose.
It's more like to try to send more air there, isn't it? And it's a focus. If you focus there, you might sort of put more attention there, because it's part of a resonating chamber, isn't it? I think in the States you have a more nasally accent. Well, it's more. I guess
there's a kind of there's a to what a lot of the Midwestern states, especially a lot of the East Coast too. New York, they have a lot of New
York. Hey, what you gotta do?
Hey, it's the best city in the world.
I'm looking at me, yo.
Oh, you mean arguably? No, it's the best. It's a fact. So, Darren, if you could give, like we said, our audience is newer comedians, if you could give them some advice on sort of like to be, because we try to get people to be more animated with their act outs and how they create sort of the scenario that they said a joke about, and then you act out, you take the audience to that scenario, kind of like what the Family Guy does, where it's like, that's like the cruise director on the Mayflower, and then we take you to the cruise director who's on the Mayflower. Today we're going to be doing. So if you could give some suggestions as to how a newer comedian could begin to use voice to enrich his act outs or her act outs, what would you say would be a good way to start?
First and foremost, start right now getting into a routine of learning how to warm up your voice. Because no matter what you do, if you're not ready to speak, you're always going to be putting in more effort than is necessary. Therefore, you can only achieve so much. And it's going to take a toll on you, especially if you're, you get adrenaline, don't you, when you're on stage? Sometimes you might get embarrassed if you fuck up a bit or something. So you want to be able to be relaxed, and warm-up routines aren't just about warming up your voice. They will also help ground you. And
Nice.
like I think it's not even about doing voices, because if you are calm, collected, and warm and grounded, you will be more present, and you will be much better able to perform and to use your voice freely. So it's like it's such a crucial step. In fact, for me, having been a singer and an actor and voice artist for many years, like I know I fucked up if I haven't done warm up, if I don't do daily exercises just to keep me, topped up. So it's simple things like breathing exercises, laying on your back for 5 minutes in the morning, like a semi-supine, your knees up and your back on the floor, breathing into your lower back. A lot of people tell you to breathe into your belly, but then there's a misunderstanding that people start pushing their belly forward and pulling their back out, which means they don't get a full breath because their ribs don't open. So breathe into your back, relax your belly, take the time to hum for a few minutes before you go to speak. Even do some tongue trills, some lip trills, and some sounds, some sirening. And just like 5 to 10 minutes of this kind of stuff. And like try and get any tension out of your head, neck, and shoulders. If you have to massage yourself, jog your shoulders around, again, lay on the floor. It's so crucial. These are simple things. And there's loads on my channel. There's loads of warm-up exercises. You can take a 5 minute, 10 minute, 20 minute, just use one, take it and do it for yourself. It's even if you're not performing that day, do it every day anyway. And what you'll find is that you'll start getting to the place you need to be quicker before you have to perform, because adrenaline will be there and it will dry your voice out and it will kind of hinder you from being able to be free and loose. And I think, tell me if I'm wrong, but I imagine a killer for a stand-up comedian is tension.
Yeah.
So you need to be loose. You want to be free and easy. And therefore, it doesn't matter if you get your voice right. You will nail it 100% because you'll be limber and relaxed enough to just go there, to have the energy and the emotional energy as well to put yourself in that position and go for it. Again, I guess all of that comes with experience, though, doesn't it? The more you do it, the better you get at it, hopefully. But yeah, so like warm up your voice. Like it's fundamental. It really is. And maybe speakers don't think they need to, but it's a performance. You're going to use a certain amount of energy, whether you're putting on accents or not. Even using your own voice takes energy in that environment. Even if you've got a microphone, you need to have that presence and that relaxation in your body to be able to perform at your optimum.
Yeah, that's an intense performance as a stand-up. You're talking straight, and even though you have a microphone, you're projecting, naturally. And I found that by the end of the week, if I wasn't doing warm-ups before my show, and I have a sort of a theater improv background also, so I was used to doing the warm-ups, but we would do that at Second City before every show, and you would if you didn't, your voice would be shot by the end of the week.
Yeah. I did when I first came to Finland, I was troubadouring on the ferries between here and Estonia, Tallinn and Helsinki, and I was doing 5 shows a day, 7 days a week, 5 1-hour gigs.
Wow.
Singing. And I'm sleeping on the boat, and it's just air conditioning. So I had 2 humidifiers in my room. That's also a good point. Humidity, being hydrated, drinking plenty of water the day before you perform. If you're worrying about getting water in you on the day, it's already probably too late. So if you drink a lot of coffee in the mornings and you've got your show in the evening, just water it down. Electrolytes. Have a banana and a glass of water in the evening before you go to bed.
Oh, see, I didn't hear any of this stuff before, so I like that.
I say banana because it's got potassium in it, but I mean electrolytes, salt,
Sure. Well, what else? Any other tips for like a newbie that to help them get comfortable doing voices? And
they're not committing to it. Like, what do you say to someone that's not committing to it? And you don't believe them because they're they're not committing to the full bit. So
that is a problem with the newbies, is they kind of half-ass it, and now like you said, the audience is like, oh, he tried, okay.
Yeah. And if they're a nice audience, they'll say, "Well done for trying." But if they're not a nice audience, you're in trouble.
Boo!
So I imagine that comes out of insecurity, and I imagine that insecurity comes out of lack of practice in that environment. So the fact that they're called newbies does indicate that they probably haven't done it so much.
Right.
Therefore, there's going to be some unconscious insecurities, whether they're confident on the outside or not. The fact that they're getting up there to do it is really great, but I think that's going to be what. It's not always the jokes, is it? They don't have to be funny if the delivery's right. If the person telling them has got a certain sense of timing and skill, but that comes with practice. So it's really putting your hours in. Put your hours into yourself. And if you do feel uncomfortable and you're not committed because of that, then you have to start questioning why. You know, why am I doing this? What is the purpose? Am I trying to prove something to someone else? Am I trying to like overcome being bullied at school or something? Like that sounds terrible, but you never know.
Yeah.
People might be forcing themselves to do it. And even if they do know that, it's not necessarily going to make them feel any better. But what they can do is look after themselves. Now, taking a walk in nature, making sure you're hydrated, doing the warm-ups are all part of that psychological, emotional journey, as well as the physiological, like actual action of warming up. Fresh air, exercise, good healthy diet. I mean, it sounds really simple, but this is the bread and butter of a healthier body, therefore healthier mind.
It's funny because comedians are typically, you know, we have all day long.
Drinking and
but yeah, we have all day long, and we go to the gym just so we can go and drink after the show, and it's a vicious cycle of partying and then regret.
But I don't think anyone starts off 100% confident, do they? It builds. No. So I'd say put yourself in that environment as much as you can. The open mic nights, the in front of your strangers, go into a town you don't know, nobody knows you, and sort of just become one of your characters for the day. No one's going to think you are. You can work on it because no one knows you. You can ask people the time. You can go and shop and get your coffee. No one's going to judge you because they just assume that's you. So you can work on your characters that way and feel completely free. That's improv, right? But you don't have to make anything up. You're just being a different person. Unless your aunt walks past. Hey, what are you doing here, Stifler? I'm just getting the coffee.
I don't know who Stifler is. I'm just getting myself some Java.
Yeah, so warming up, putting the hours in, and I think if you can find that relaxation in your body, you'll feel more comfortable anyway. And as stage performance, I really think that that's the best advice I can give, because I can't give any comedic notes necessarily.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the voice, that all backs up the voice, and it doesn't mean you have to be going to the gym and running up hills and drinking 10 pints of water a day. It just means just know that the voice is connected to the body. It is your instrument. You might be drinking whiskey and smoking cigarettes and have this amazing voice. If you've got no confidence, you're probably not going to be able to share that voice.
Yeah,
and the confidence will come from practice and just being kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself is a tough one for us. Our whole life is based on things not going right and us making fun of it. So we'll have to work on that last part.
And Darren, what's your online class and what's your YouTube channel?
Yeah, plug that.
Well, the YouTube channel is you can go to YouTube, but it's called Improve Your Voice. And likewise, if you want to go to my website, it's improveyourvoice.com. I've had a nightmare day today with my website, and I've just switched from my new website back over to my old one because it was not working, and I had to sort of readjust.
So frustrating. Technology. It's funny how you have to be an actor, you got to be a voice coach, you got to be a technological specialist, a computer expert.
The thing is, I've just finished directing my debut feature film as well. So
nice.
I've spent the last year doing that, and it's just been picked up by a sales agent, and it's being pitched at AFM in Vegas right now.
Oh, good for you, man! Congratulations. What's the name of the film?
The film is called To Thy Rest, and it's a film about a spiritual medium from Scotland who's touring the world, giving me like seances, and he's in a hotel in Finland. It all goes a little bit. These dreams and visions go beyond what he expected.
Oh, nice.
Mm,
That sounds fun. Well, good luck with
yeah,
that. I hope that goes well, and thank you for sharing your time with us today. That I love your insights, and I'm going to be adding physicality to my bits now, like into my voice characterizations.
yeah, and you can use those same from that 100 distinctly different voices video. You can put all those love and efforts in because they come from the physical ones anyway.
Oh,
I made
gotcha.
them into the voice, but you can reverse that back into physicality. Do you
Love
move
it.
quick? Do you move slow? Do you move directly or are you drunk, like indirect? So you can think of them in those terms too as a starting point, and then see what that does to the voice. And it is about being curious to what that physically does to the voice, as opposed to trying to create a voice and then affect, like adding on the
Yeah.
physicality, because it doesn't always work, does it?
No, let the body guide the voice. That's really good. I have a show tonight. I have an improv show tonight, so I'm going to be using this
All
stuff,
right,
and I'm
great.
excited because part of being an improviser is you have to come out into the scene, and you have to sort of start the scene. You have to have a suggestion that you begin the scene with, and then the first line is always the toughest because you're trying to sort of encapsulate whatever's about to happen, and so we all know who we are and where we are and what we're doing. So, but
Yeah,
to have
yeah.
a physicality with the voice is going to be so much more powerful.
I once saw a stand-up comedian. It was in like a variety show. I didn't see him again, actually, unfortunately. He came on stage and he was really nervous. He was shaking and his hand was doing this, and he didn't know quite what to do. And he was messing around with the microphone. He took it off and has dropped it and then put it back on. And he was, hi, hello. Um, my name, I'm a comedian. And everyone was like, oh no, oh,
Oh,
you poor fucker. And then he kind of went into his pocket and he pulled out this bag, and he obviously kind of a brown paper bag, and he took out a bottle of whiskey and necked it, and he threw it over his shoulder. He goes, hey, how you doing? But
I'm
he did
back.
it he's so well. The physicality made the journey, but that physicality also helped his voice.
Yeah, and
Uh,
you as did the whiskey, it sounds like.
yeah, well, that was the bit, I guess.
That's the bit. Yeah, that's funny. That's good. And to pull that off and to be believable as being that nervous is tricky because to fake nerves is tough.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think you drink enough coffee and those nerves come quite naturally, don't they? Just follow that feeling.
Well, thank you, Darren. We appreciate you, and we'll send you a link when we get this up and running. It'll probably be in like the
Lovely.
next 2 weeks. It'll be up and so you can share it on your socials and do all that stuff.
It was great to meet you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I listened to some of your podcasts the other day, and I really enjoyed it. So
Oh,
I'm gonna
good.
look
Thank
forward
you.
to watching more, and you know, all the best with your stand up. And I look forward to maybe seeing you one day when I pop over.
All right.
Right. When you're on your movie tour, man,
Yeah, you never know.
we know it's gonna happen. I
Yeah.
feel it.
Well, you take care then. Have a
Thanks a
great
lot,
evening.
Darren.
All right.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Best of luck. Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye.
Well, I learned a lot.
Me too. That was great.
Once we got him into coaching mode, and he,
Yeah, it was funny because you put him on the spot. It looks like by trying to get him to do the thing, and then I
oh
was
yeah,
like, okay, well, let's put Stifler on the spot and make
yeah.
him do it. And then he sort of came alive, and it was great.
I like the dialect archives. So you can actually find if you want to listen to
Yeah,
people's different dialects. I'm gonna look that up. I felt I was more successful once he told me to adjust my body before I start
right.
talking.
I could tell it was obvious when you did your voice and you just started doing this stuff, and all of a sudden it came out different. It was fun.
But even like lock your jaw and don't move your bottom lip was a good.
Right.
You really talk like a ventriloquist. Yeah.
Talk like a ventriloquist.
What'd you take away?
I like the idea of the having a physical what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like a physical association with a voice to lead. And I like the idea of the planes. Where do your hands fit on
Yeah.
the
Below the
planes?
table, behind the back.
Up, down, front, back, all those different planes could be where your hands are, and that's where they sit. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. Well, cool. I think that's a good episode.
Yeah, I agree. Glad we got
Yeah.
him.
That was a good get. Nice get.